Thank you, moderator. And good morning, everyone. And all protocols observed. I'm sure we've greeted many dignitaries here. So let me stand on existing protocol. I hope you can hear me. Okay, as you are told, my name is Franklin Ngu. I work in Lagos Business School. I teach strategy, corporate governance, and risk management. I'm also the director of LBS Public Sector Initiative. Your Excellency, let me start on a good note. We saw you happy, in a very good mood yesterday, and we believe it's part of your interest in coming to share with us what you're going to do for Nigeria. And as you know, in national planning, we normally say, where are we? Where are we going to go? And how do we get there? And of course, in Nigeria, we already know where we are. So there's no need for me to repeat it because it's a public knowledge. In terms of unemployment, insecurity, we all know this. So today, we're expecting you to tell us where you want to take us. And then the next question is, how do we get there? So my first question is that many Nigerians believe that the federal government is trying to do too much in terms of what they are covering, in terms of area that they are covering. And they're asking that to make Nigeria to move from point A to point Z, that you have to work with the states and local government. So the question is believed that there are too much powers and there is need to devolve powers to states and local government. So the question is, looking at the exclusive list, which one do you think should be moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list to be controlled by the state and maybe possibly also to the residual list? Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. There is actually no time for protocol because this is a business school or alumni association of business. But first of all, before I answer your question, I would like to make or to give a small, I would rather a small or short story. When the PDP was elected in 1999 into government, we really did not have a policy document. We didn't have a plan, but we met a country that was heavily indebted, that was in crisis between the various component parts of the country, and so on and so forth. I went to the annual World Bank IMF conference in Washington. And then went to the World Bank and said, look, we have a problem of debt in Nigeria. We are owing so much. We don't know why we are owing, whom we are owing, for what was the money meant for, and so on and so forth. In other words, we didn't have any records in the Ministry of Finance. And the World Bank officials said, look, we have a brilliant Nigerian in this bank. I said, can you please loan her to us? And I was introduced to our former Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I came back and told the president, and we invited her to join us. From there, we had to realized that we had to set up what they call a debt management office. We were politicians, we even didn't know what is debt management office. So we sat down together, we drafted the law establishing the debt management office. Who will be the chairman of the debt management office? Said the vice president. Who will be the deputy chairman? We said the Minister of Finance. Anyway, the long and short story, we got the National Assembly to approve that law. That's why today, the chairman of the Debt Management Office is the vice president, and the Minister of Finance is the vice chairman. Then I also realized that we did not even have an economic blueprint. So together, with advice of friends, like one of the former managing directors of Guarantee Trust Bank, Fola Adiola, Akin Kekere Ekun, we now sat down and Nasir El-Rufai to set up an economic advisory committee and appointed Professor Anya Anya as chairman of that economic team. Many of us, including Bode Augusto and others, we submitted our report, or rather we wrote our report, and then I took it to the president. I said, Mr. President, this is something we should look at. After he read it, called me, VP, come. How do we implement this report? I said, sir, we are politicians. They are technocrats. We invite them, we provide the political leadership, and ask them to implement. He said, but I have to interview each and every one of them. I said, no problem, sir. I can invite them. I started with Professor Anya. Anya said, no, I don't want to hold any government appointment. Take me out of it. Fola, my brother, how about? He said, no, I will work with you, but I will not work with your boss. Akin, how about you? He said, no, I will work with you, but I won't work with your boss. Bode Augusto, he said, yes, I want to interview the president. I want the president to interview me. So I took him to Providence before the president. The president said, Bode, I want you to be our director of budget. He said, but first of all, you can't pay me. I am earning more than what you are earning. So the president said, how do we go about it? He said, I will take this job. I will not take your salary, but I want you to make a commitment to implement one thing. He said, what? He said, I want you to make a commitment that you will provide electricity to everybody in this country. My boss raised his hand like this. He said, I promise you, I will fix NEPA. So Bode Augusto Koi came on board as our director of budget. Anyway, this was how we went about headhunting people we believe could come on board to help us run this country. And they helped us to run this country, and we achieved the success we achieved. And all of them, virtually all of them, were members of the private sector. So let me use this opportunity to pay tribute to the private sector for contributing so much to the success we achieved during our years in government. But for the team that I put together, we would not have achieved what we achieved. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give you this brief history. You asked a constitutional question. I have been advocating for devolution of powers in this country when it was very, very unpopular, at least unpopular by a large section of the country. Let me say the northern part of the country, where I come from and where it is my constituency. But all the same, I insisted that if this country is to remain one country, it is imperative that we have a review of our constitution. Because our constitution is a product of military administration. So I want to state very, very clearly and equivocally that I support review of our constitutional arrangements to devolve more powers and resources to the component parts of the country or regions, whatever they may be, states, local governments, and so on and so forth. I am a believer of small government. Too much government in my life is unacceptable to me. And if you look at our economic indices, you find that it is the private sector that is the driving force behind our economic success. What should be devolved to the states or regions and local governments, again, is the responsibility of the National Assembly and the state assemblies. I cannot sit down here and tell you A, B, C, D items should go to the states, E, F, G should go to the local governments, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a subject of negotiations between the various component parts of this country. But all what I can assure you, as President Atiku Abubakar, I will make sure that this constitutional issue is resolved. The specifics you are looking for in your question cannot be answered if you look at our constitution, because they are constitutional details. So I hope I have done a little bit of justice to your question.
Yes.
I can sit down there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Your Excellency. I was actually saying that if you continue to stand up, all of us will stand up and join you. Because it will be against protocol culturally for us to sit down while you're standing up. But because this is an adult, you're an applicant, so you have to stand up. You need that. No, we don't want you to need that, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. So thank you for the answer. The second follow-up question is about the structure, the cost of governance in Nigeria. Many people believe that it's too high. And you're also aware that we have the Oronsaye report that recommends for the downsizing of the size of government. The question is, how and when will you reduce the cost of governance? And will you implement the Oronsaye report, and when? Will it be in your first year, second year, third year, or fourth year? Or will you leave it for another government? Thank you, Your Excellency. Let me also say, as Your Excellency is preparing to answer the question, that we have about 20 questions we want Your Excellency to answer. And we believe that this will be answered in an hour, 15, 20 minutes. They are related questions, but we will try. As he said, he's applying to be the CEO of a company with 200 employees or 200 million shareholders or 200 million employees. Your Excellency, on the issue of Oronsaye report. Thank you.
Again, I may want to draw your attention to the fact that it was our administration that set up the Oronsaye committee. I, for one, believe in small government. When the Republican Party came from the United States, they came to visit me, and I told them the kind of government I want. One of them said, but you are even more Republican than we are. Because I said, there is too much government in our life. I want a small government, an effective one, a government that gives directives, that establishes policy guidelines for the component parts of the country. So first and foremost, at least I want you to give credit to the PDP for setting up the Oronsaye report. But unfortunately, the government white paper that came out after PDP left office, the views in the white paper were not in conformity with the main report itself. And it is understandable. Who are the people who normally draft the white paper? It is the top civil servants. And of course, you will expect them to protect the interest of the large and wealthy federal bureaucracy that we have. So what I believe is that yes, the Oronsaye report is a good report, but then the white paper of the report is not in conformity with the spirit behind setting up the Oronsaye report. If I have the opportunity, I will review the white paper so that the white paper recommendations can be in conformity with the principles setting up the Oronsaye report. It is not that, I want to render people jobless or anything, but I think there should be a rationalization of the federal bureaucracy that makes sense, and that also reduces cost on the public treasury.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, related to that is that, as you know, you just gave commendation to the private sector for what they have been doing, contributing to the Nigerian economy. But one of the key challenges that we are facing is the issue of insecurity. Many people in this room no longer go to their villages, particularly politicians like you and many people in this room. So the question we're asking is, what is your plan to address the pervasive insecurity that we have in Nigeria? Both short, medium, and long-term plans. But specifically, what are your views on the need for state police? Will you create one, and when will that be done? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Again, here, we cannot go outside the Constitution. I believe in a state police. But again, it will be the subject of negotiations between the National Assembly and the state assemblies. What powers do we give to the state police? We must remember how our politicians misuse powers if given to them. How do we ensure that if we have state police, that the politicians at the state level do not use them against our people. As of today, few days ago or last week, you remember how we were attacked in Borno State. Can you assume that if they had a police, state police, what they will use it against us? So it is up to the, again, National Assembly and the state assemblies to come up with a formula. What type of state police can we have? I have argued that in the United States, you have about 4 or 5 levels of police. State police, county police, borough police, this police, that police. But then they all act within the law. But we don't have that kind of guarantee here. So we will have to find a way on how we can regulate the activities of state police, even including the federal police, which federal officials sometimes misuse. So it is a double-edged sword. But we have to do it to ensure our peace and security. Of course, other than that, you have to make sure that I always give example. I say Egypt has a population of about 80 million. They have 3 million policemen on the streets. Nigeria has a population of over 200 million. We have less than 250,000 policemen on the streets. How can they police this country effectively? So we have, clearly we have a shortage of manpower, even as far as the federal police is concerned. So we believe that a shared responsibility between the federal government and the states, first of all, will increase the number of policemen all over the country. Secondly, of course, with better training and equipment. But most importantly, they are key. I know you are going to come to that issue. If we can deal with unemployment and we can tackle the issue of education. For instance, the chaps that attacked us in Maiduguri, I was watching them. Those chaps couldn't have been educated. I believe those were chaps that were misused, first of all, maybe to do Boko Haram, and after they have been brought back from the bush, and the politicians are now using them, to do all these kind of things. They couldn't have been in school. I was watching them very, very closely. They were throwing, shooting at us, and so on and so forth. Only yesterday, we lost one of the people who were attacked, and we still have about 70 people in the hospital. So they couldn't have been school children. And even if they were school children, many schools have remained closed for several months today in many parts of the country, particularly in the northern part of the country. So here again, the Oronsaye report will surely be reviewed and implemented. It was our baby, and if you elect us, we'll complete the job.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Just following on the insecurity and what happened in Borno State, is that you will agree, which you just mentioned now, that since 1999, we've had so many economic reforms. But we are where we are. They said inflation might likely be reported today to be above 20%. The unemployment rate, as at 2014, they said we had about 60-something million Nigerians working. But as of 2019, it has gone down to below 40 million. Different other economic and social problems are there. So the question we're asking is, if you're elected as the president come next year, What are the key economic reforms that that we should expect from you, and when will they be implemented? How will they make significant difference from what we are seeing now? Because of course, as you said, you've implemented so many of these reforms, but it doesn't seem that we are seeing the visible results of progress. Thank you.
No, I don't agree with you with your last submission. The economic reforms we implemented during the PDP years produced very positive results. That was why if you look at our rate of unemployment, our rate of inflation, our rate of debt, our rate of foreign reserves and everything cannot be compared with what has been happening in the last 7 years. So our economic reforms really worked. But you people said you wanted change. And you have had change in the last 7 to 8 years. So it is now up to you to compare our records of performance and also the performance of the current people whom you want or you wanted. And then decide which way to go. But I stand to say that I am extremely proud of the records we achieved as the PDP government between 1999 up to 2015. And if you give us the opportunity to serve you again, I can bet you we will do better than what we did. So this is what I can say.
So in terms of key reforms, Your Excellency, what direction can you point us in terms of what will you do in just key ones before I invite my colleague Dr. Muda Yusuf to now go down into more economic specific sectors of the economy? Just key reforms that we should expect from you, maybe your first.
For instance, when you come to the issue of fiscal and monetary policy, I have already said I would prefer to see the elimination of multiple exchange rates. I will want to see a convergence. And you know that we did it before. And if you give us the opportunity, we will do it again. Now you have about 4 or 5 exchange rates. And it is the private sector that suffers, which contributes about 79 to 80% of our GDP. So, as far as I'm concerned, that will be dealt with. Secondly, I have said it before on interview, that I will continue with privatizing, aspects of our oil and gas sector. Up till now, our moribund refineries are not functioning, and yet we are spending money on them. As far as I'm concerned, we will rather privatize them. We have about 3 of them, and we have been spending money without any production. If we had privatized them, they would have been producing today. No private sector will buy a refinery and be spending money and allowing it not to be in operation. So I will definitely privatize them so that Nigeria can even be the refinery hub of West Africa, because by the time those 3 refineries are functioning, and Aliko's refinery is functioning, there will be 4 refineries. No African country has that capacity to have. Yes. And we will be exporting refined products to all the West African sub-region. So there are fundamental economic, policies I will implement And if you look at, or if you study our policy document, which is my covenant with Nigerians, you will see where we are going, the direction we are going. If you have even read it, you will only invite me to come here and just say anything I want to say. Because all these are questions, I have gone through them. I said, but have these people read my covenant with Nigerians unless they want to see me and listen to my voice? Because all these, questions that you have asked have been answered in that policy document. I don't believe in, what will I say? Because I set up this, first of all, the 5 topics I chose. I chose them myself. I sat down as a businessman and said, look, what are the things affecting my businesses? And I identified those 5. And they seamlessly, connect to each other. Are you saying that as private sector man, some of my factories have been closed? I don't need security to resume production? Certainly not. Are you going to tell me that I don't need education? I can see what non-education or children not going back to school or universities closed. Even though my university has not closed, we have never gone on strike for one day. Never. I have a private university, but it has never gone on strike even for one day. I'm not governmental. I'm just an individual. So I believe that the issues you raise are issues that have been actually answered. But you want to see me, I'm here. You want to listen to my voice, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
I am an applicant.
We read your plan, but of course it's like sending a CV. So now is the physical interview of interrogating that CV. So on that note, let me invite my colleague, Dr. Muda Yusuf, to take on from here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your insights so far. The fuel subsidy issue has been a recurring issue over quite a number of administrations. It's looking like kicking the can down the road, one administration after the other. We all know the kind of pressure that subsidy spending has been imposing on the finances of government. We know the impact of subsidy on the rising level of fiscal deficit, on the rising level of debt, and the implications from the point of view of opportunity cost in terms of what other things the government could have used the funds for. And above all, the implications for investment in the oil and gas sector. Could you give us an insight as to how you will deal comprehensively and with possible timelines and specifics, how we'll deal with this subsidy issue? Because we have been told that, only from the budget before the National Assembly, we are looking at another 6 trillion in 2023 to deal with this. Your Excellency, sir.
Thank you very much. The economic reform we were implementing from 1999 to 2007 contained removal of subsidy. I was appointed chairman of the committee on the removal of subsidy. We sat down and said subsidy will be removed in 4 phases in our administration. I was the chairman of the committee of the removal of subsidy. We implemented phase 1. If there is any member of the NLC then should know that we met the demands of the NLC. They wanted transportation, they wanted this, they wanted that, we provided. And we removed phase 1, tick. We removed phase 2, tick. And then we left. Since we left, no government has summoned the courage to continue with the implementation until today. Even when APC said they don't understand who is subsidizing who and so on and so forth, they came in, they still continued with it. It requires a political leadership that has the belief, the conviction in the principle of removal of subsidy. I will continue where we stop, and subsidy will be removed, because the amount of money that is being allegedly spent on subsidy will be put back to the economy to deal with issues like education, healthcare, and others. It's just a fraud. I'm sorry to say.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. This next question, of course, you have spoken a bit about it, but because of its critical importance to the Nigerian economy, it would be nice for you to elaborate a lot more. And it's about foreign exchange policy. Now, foreign exchange is at the heart of any economy, particularly from the point of view of capital flows into the economy. The situation today is that the economy is characterized by high exchange rate volatility. We have serious liquidity crisis in the foreign exchange market. We have found ourselves in a situation of administrative allocation and rationing of foreign exchange, with all its attendant problems of transparency and corruption. It's affecting capital flows and is taking a huge toll on investors' confidence. Could you give us an insight into what specific measures that you will take or adopt in addressing this issue of foreign exchange? Are we looking at a completely free floating of the currency? Are we looking at managed floats? There have been all sorts of theories as to how these things can be done. But it's such a very crucial issue to the Nigerian economy today. Your Excellency, sir.
I think number one, once you abolish the multiple foreign exchange policies, you will have first of all achieved, stability in the exchange rate. What remains now is, after establishing stability of the exchange rate, how do you now have enough of forex? We must first of all support our industries to make sure that they produce enough to satisfy our market and export, so that we can also earn foreign exchange by exportation. Another way we can also encourage the flow of foreign exchange is by making sure that we give incentives to foreign investors to come in. Again, you also have the issue of diaspora remittances. How do you support or encourage diaspora remittances? By the time you have a stable exchange rate, you would have also encouraged, remittances from abroad. So there are a number of measures which we believe if we implement, we will have a stable exchange rate. We will have also encourage, our industries to produce enough to export, and we will also encourage, our Nigerian citizens in diaspora to remit more money. But now, because of the fluctuation in the rate of the foreign exchange, many of them have found it very, very difficult to remit, remittances from abroad, unless it has become absolutely necessary, to support their families.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Just a follow-up question. Because one of the things we have been seeing around monetary policy and exchange rate policy is the autonomy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And every now and then, we are being reminded that the Central Bank is autonomous. And, of course, the regime of the current CBN leadership, I think, will extend to 2024. Now, issue of autonomy and getting some of these policies in a new direction. I don't know how you will deal with that, because the current regime of the CBN seems to be fixated on this current approach of managing forex.
I think they take a cue maybe from the political leadership. If the political leadership is not fixated towards this direction, the CBN will not do so. I mean, we were in government before. We didn't give that impression to the CBN, and the CBN was on the right path. So I believe the political leadership is the most important thing.
Yeah, thank you very much for your response, sir. Now, we are grappling with a major debt crisis, even though the current administration doesn't admit that we have a major debt crisis. But the reality is that our debt stock has risen to over 60 trillion naira. That is when we add the debts currently being managed by the Debt Management Office, and we add the ways and means of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And debt service, which has been proposed in the 2023 budget, is over 6 trillion naira. And the revenue for 2023 is slightly over 9 trillion naira. So we can see how very disturbing the outlook is. We haven't talked about the subsidy budget. Now, from all these perspectives or these realities as far as our fiscal operations are concerned, how will you deal with this issue of debt crisis? Because I do know that you also have your own programs to implement, and these things will require funding. And how do we do it in such a way that we will not further deepen the level of debt crisis in an attempt to also implement, your own programs? Your Excellency, sir.
Well, I think there are two issues there. There are foreign debt and also domestic debt. So I don't know which one you are talking about. If you are talking about foreign debts, again, it is imperative we engage our debtors in renegotiating our debts. There is no country that does not borrow. The only thing is that how do you pay and at what terms do you pay? So as far as our foreign debts are concerned, we will have to engage our creditors to renegotiate our debts. And where possible, we also ask for debt forgiveness or cancellation like we did when we were in office. Coming to our domestic debt, here there are definitely policies that you will have to take. First of all, to bring down the level of debt acquisition domestically. And by the time you stabilize your domestic economy, you find that, you borrow less from the central bank or from the ways and means as far as domestic debt is concerned. Of course, again, just like foreign debt, there is no country that does not have, domestic debt to deal with. But then, do we deal with it responsibly currently? Certainly not. Again, I want you to compare our records with the record of this administration and see who can do better to the economy.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Let me ask my last question for now on the economy. Although you alluded to it in your previous comments, and it's about the oil and gas sector. Even though we talk a lot about economic diversification and the rest of it, but the reality is that the oil and gas sector is still very, very critical to this economy, especially from the point of view of foreign exchange earnings. We are familiar with all the stories around oil theft, and we also know that we have quite a number of policy issues in oil and gas, which has, led to a situation where quite a number of investors had left. We are struggling with our OPEC quota, which is 1.8 million barrels per day. We are doing less than 1 million. And even our export figures is even less than that. So in the light of all of this, how can we get a quick turnaround in our oil and gas sector so that you can get more investment in the sector and also get more revenue, to support foreign reserves?
Well, I don't know whether you recollect the situation we met in 1999. From a little over 1 million, we boost production. We brought production to more than 2. Our plan was that before our departure, we were targeting to produce up to 4 million barrels per day before our departure. But unfortunately, we couldn't do it. But we have the capacity. This country has the capacity to produce up to about 4 million barrels per day. I will go back to that plan to see that, we re-engage our foreign investors who have, first of all, the capacity and the money to invest to return, to the oil and gas sector. But more importantly, we will put more emphasis on gas as a transition to clean energy policy, in the country, which is going to be the universal this thing. So these are how we intend to tackle the issue. Of course, there is the issue of crude oil theft. Honestly, I cannot understand. But happily enough, because of a lot of public outcry, the government has tried to do something about it. So they have discovered most of the areas where the crude oil is being siphoned illegally. So they have tried to block that. So that's why recently there is an upward, rise in the production of crude oil. But again, still below, our expectations and even below our OPEC quota. So I believe with the policies we have, or we are going to implement, we will again make sure that we restore security to our pipelines, and we also invest more in the oil production as well as gas exploration.
Yeah, thank you. Although I said that was the last, but just permit me to take this one as the very last. Now it's about inflation. The inflation in the economy has had a very serious devastating effect, not only on the welfare of citizens, but also on the performance of businesses. Purchasing power has been massively eroded over the last couple of years. And this has led to very serious increase in the level of poverty. Production costs has also been going up, and this has been affecting margins. Margins are being eroded. September inflation was 20.77. We're expecting new inflation figures, I think today, tomorrow. And effective inflation, if you talk to the average man on the streets, effective inflation is far higher than even these official figures, when we look at the impact and the rate at which prices are growing. So, in the light of the very devastating effect that inflation is having on both the citizens and the economy, what kind of strategy would your administration adopt? I know this will be, immediate, short-term, medium-term, and long-term to deal with this problem of inflation.
Well, again, the issue of inflation. I'm told the camera people are complaining. I'm not looking at them, so I don't know whether they are the people I'm addressing or you. Well, let's come to the question of inflation. A number of factors affect inflation. And some of the policy issues we have discussed here, if properly implemented, will, to a large extent, bring down inflation, because inflation is a byproduct of, economic malfunctioning, let me say, generally. Once you put the economy on the right track, you will control inflation. Some of you should remember that when we were in office, we used to engage the private sector by sector, on a monthly dialogue. Okay, what do you recommend we do to boost, say, your production in this sector of the economy, and so on and so forth. And because of the input we get from the private sector during those interactive sessions, and when we implement them, we see the results. But I don't think any group of the private sector has been engaged by this administration in the last 7 to 8 years. And if that is the sector that produces the greatest wealth, that produces the greatest employment rate, that affects your economy generally, and you are not in dialogue with them, you don't listen to them, you don't interact with them, how do you know whether you are doing the right thing or not? This is something that those of you who perhaps participated in our various interactive sessions when we were in office, because we wish to invite you to Abuja in this large hall, sector by sector, so that we get your own inputs, and so that we can implement. So virtually, if you get the implementation of the economy right, you will also see inflation coming down. If you tackle unemployment, if there are more jobs, and so on and so forth, you will see all these things coming down. Because inflation is a byproduct of, mismanagement of the economy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, Your Excellency. As a teacher, I can give you instant feedback. The interview is going well, and you're performing well. So but of course, we've not made any decision yet, because we still have more questions for you. You mentioned that your university has never gone on strike, and which is very commendable. But you also recall that our universities are still thinking of whether they should go back on strike after being on strike for over 7 months. 8 months now. So the question is, what would be your proposed solution or solutions to permanently end the perennial ASU strikes, and when will it be implemented?
I am not saying we shouldn't have public universities, but as minimal as possible. Because we all send, those of you, I believe very many of you here, you send your children to United States. I don't know whether there are public universities in the United States. I had a very heated argument with a professor when he read through my policy document, and so where I said, look, we should, not that we will not have public universities. We should have public universities, but the children of the poor should be the ones that should benefit our policies in private universities. I mean in public universities, not the children of the well-to-do. The children of the well-to-do can send their children to private universities where they can afford. And I asked him, how many public universities are in the United Kingdom where all of you send your children to go? So I had a very heated argument with a professor of a federal university. He thought maybe I wanted to lay off all the staff in the private. I said, no. What I mean is that there will be a change of policy whereby, just like in the United States, if you are from a poor family, you will have a scholarship or you will have a loan. I am from a very, very poor family. But for the fact that, I enjoyed free public education, I would not be where I am today. So I am going to make sure that public education is well funded, but is meant principally for the children of the poor. The children of the well-to-do or the middle class who can afford to send their children to private universities in Nigeria or abroad can do that. But I will make sure the children of the poor who go to public universities. Yeah, they dropped a note for me. They wanted me to correct the Egypt police ratio. It's not 1 million, it's 500,000. So, is that? So I wanted to correct that. Anyway, at a point in time, I was going to say that. So I take that correction from whoever it may come from. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Your Excellency. Just following on from there is, of course, you said what happened in Borno State and also in many states in Nigeria. Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children, particularly girl child. And it's worrisome, and of course, they say that the future of an economy or a society depends on the kind of education that they have. So what will be your plans to reverse this trend in terms of out-of-school children? What targets can we be looking at, and when will that be done? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Yeah, again, I have to refer you back to the PDP policy 1999 to 2007. We came in, we set up the UBE, and we sent a legislation to the National Assembly. In the UBE law, we introduced education tax. Many Nigerians are paying education tax, you may not know. And we said every child is entitled to free education from primary up to secondary school. And we were sending this money to the states and local governments. When we send this money or these funds, the states and the local governments don't provide the education. I was invited by the Nigerian Senate to go and address them on this issue and said, okay, they asked me, okay, if you have the opportunity to come back, how will you make sure that the states or some of the states that don't implement that policy? I said, well, there is a monitoring department in the UBE. If we identify a state not utilizing the funds to provide education, we will intervene directly. I will ask for an amendment to intervene directly to provide that free education at all levels. I just came back from Jigawa, and I was driving from Jigawa up to Hadeja, maybe about 2.5 hours drive. And every village I passed, I will look at my ADC, I will look at my chief security officer. I said, did you see any school? They will say, no, we didn't see any school. I think we only cited 1 or 2 schools. It's a drive of about, and along the road, they are all villages. So we believe that the money we collect as education tax and we remit to the states and the local governments are not being utilized to provide that free education we insisted should be provided to every child of school age in the country. This is a very, very fundamental issue that I will make sure we implement if we have the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. The next question, because of time, is that, of course, you know what is going on in the electricity sector. For us, for the private sector to do well, there are big issues with our power sector. So I remember, of course, you remember also what you and General Obasanjo did in the power sector when you came in. Now we have the GENCOs, we have Transmission Company of Nigeria, and we have the DISCOs. We are told that the installed capacity is below 20,000 megawatts. But what we are getting, what is being weighed, is about less than 5,000. For private sector to do well and to contribute very well, they need power. What will you do in the power sector? And particularly, if you're going to invest more money into it, where would the money come from? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Well, you know, as a government, there are many avenues to get more money in terms of revenue. But coming specifically to the power sector, unfortunately, I disagreed with my boss during our tenure. I advocated for a diversified power generation system. My boss wanted a generation system based solely on gas. I said, we will get to that level, but for us to provide electricity supply, I invited PwC as then chairman of the BPE. I said, PwC, go around this country, tell me how we could produce enough electricity before we leave office. PwC went around the whole of this country, gave me a report, how we could diversify generation in particular. And I submitted the report to the president. And the president said, no, I believe only in gas. I said, we are not yet there yet. We will get to gas, but we are not there yet. Now we need electricity before we leave office. And according to that PwC report, by 2005, we would have generated enough electricity for all parts of this country based on a diversified generation system without even improving the transmission. Because the moment, of course, you concentrate generation at a particular point and you are generating such a very, very powerful thing, you also have to upgrade your transmission system. So in other words, the PwC report divided Nigeria into zones and identified in each zone the source of generation for each zone, so that without spending too much money on transmission, you could generate enough electricity for a zone where there will be electricity everywhere. But we disagreed. And I withdrew from that, from the implementation of that program. And that program failed. So I still believe that before we go to our full gas potential, we may still have to look at the PwC report, or we may have to ask them and say, look, come in. Because by that their report, by 2005, we would have been self-sufficient in generation before we even left office. But unfortunately, we did not implement that report, and this is where we are today. Me, I believe in that report. I can get that report updated by PwC and see how we can implement to make sure that we get enough electricity in the short, medium term before we go to the long term, which is gas. I remember I interviewed the chief executive of a foreign oil company. He said, let me tell you this, Mr. Vice President. Your gas, what he called it, is it diversification? And he said, before you even put up the gas infrastructure in Nigeria, it will take you not less than 10 years. Because of the challenges you have in the gas producing area. So if you want an immediate electricity, then this is the only solution. I also remember how we argued on the issue of privatizing some portion of the NNPC. But then I now submitted a paper. I said, look, let's privatize even 10% of the NNPC. Then oil price was high. We would make not less than 20 billion. With this 20 billion, we can build all the roads, the railways in this country, and the seaports and so on and so forth. We don't have to borrow money for that. He said, no. I believe we have to privatize the NNPC anyway. And this current privatization is fake. Go to the capital market, privatize it. Why you say you privatize and all the shares are being held by federal government and state governments? Which federal government and state government? Go to the capital market. Go to the host communities. Let them also all have, let them partake in the privatization. Yes. I'm sorry, it's fake. I don't agree with them. Anyway.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you are seeing that the audience, they are getting impatient to ask you questions. So we'll ask 3 more questions and we'll open it up to the audience. So 1 from me and 2 from Muda Yusuf. And we now open up to take 3 more questions.
I thought
and
we
we'll close.
finished. Okay.
No, we've not finished. You know you're applying for a very serious job, Your Excellency. So it's a very serious interview. So my question, Your Excellency, is that, you know, our infrastructure level is very, very poor. From rail, road, all types of infrastructure, both even physical and software. So the question, I want you to focus on 2 areas. So in particular, what is going on in our seaports. Some people say that for you to clear your goods, sometimes, my friend gave a story that they were exporting goods from Nigeria and from Ghana. The one from Ghana got to Belgium in 3 weeks. The one from Nigeria got to Belgium in 3 months and 3 weeks. So the question is, what will you do with regard to our seaports, at least to make sure that clearing of goods becomes easier, faster, and shorter? And also related to it is the issue of the aviation sector. In particular, do you support the Nigerian A project? Will you continue to buy more planes or allow the Nigerian A to continue? Or what will you do? Thank you.
Yeah, because you have asked 2 questions that are completely at opposite. Air, sea.
Related.
Okay, transportation related. Yes. I support the private sector as far as Air Nigeria is concerned. I don't want to see government involved in any airline business. Let the private sector take it. See all the major airlines in the world are all private sector owned. Why should we as a developing country waste so much money on setting up airline? If we set it up after independence as a prestige, there is no longer question of prestige. That should go to the private sector. Your first question was?
Seaport.
Seaport. I am directly affected. Some of my factories are situated in Abuja, some are situated in Lagos, in Yola. Believe me, sometimes we have to close the factories for months waiting for our raw materials to come from Lagos. I have this view. Let's have the Lagos port developed to handle traffic from the western side of Nigeria. Let's develop another seaport on the eastern side to handle all imports and exports on this. Because I looked at and did my calculation and my arithmetic. If I have a port, if I can take my containers to a port in the eastern port, it will take me less than 12 hours to get to Yola. My container will leave from either, whether it is Calabar or Port Harcourt or Uyo, it will take less than 12 hours to get to Yola. That's why when I travel abroad, I went and met the biggest shipping company. I said, look, I want you to come to Nigeria and see how you can develop, an eastern port so that at least I can convey my raw materials easily to my factories across the country. And every effort we made, of course, whatever improvements that was made at the Lagos port was made during our administration. Since then, no improvement has been made as far as the Lagos ports are concerned. We have to diversify our seaports to deal with our vast country, because our country is so big, so vast. One port alone cannot handle the majority of our imports and exports as is currently obtained. This is what I believe will be fair to everybody in this country.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Two more questions from Dr. Muda, and we'll open it up to the audience. Two quick questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'll just put the two questions together. The first has to do with the issue of the health sector.
Health sector.
Health sector. Now, as you know, health is very critical to human capital development. And you need very strong human capital to drive economic development. But the health sector today is in a crisis, just to put it mildly. Many of our doctors are living, they continue to live in droves. Doctor to patient ratio is extremely low, one of the lowest in the world. And you find a situation where most of the citizens, maybe between 80 to 90, get health care out of pocket. They pay to get health care. Many of them go to pharmacies to get medical treatment. Some of them go to all these alternative medicine people just because they don't have the capacity to go to the normal medical institutions. So what exactly will you do to turn around the health sector and make healthcare more accessible, especially to the ordinary Nigerian? Secondly, it's about climate change. Climate change has had a very devastating effect.
What?
Climate change.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it has had a very serious devastating effect on the citizens and the economy. Only recently we saw the effect of flooding all over the country. We also know the effects of desertification up north and how that has also been contributing to the problem of insecurity. So those are my two final questions.
Thank you very much. On the issue of health sector reform, we first introduced the first reforms as far as the health sector reform is concerned. But unfortunately, we have not seen effective implementations of those health sector reforms. We set up the health insurance scheme and many other sector reforms like that. And as you know, health generally is a concurrent issue, between the federal government, states, and local governments. What as federal government we can do is to make sure that our policy reforms are implemented at the various levels of governance. Because we cannot take the full responsibility of whole sector other than through reforms, making sure that the correct legislations are passed, which will enable both the federal government, states, and local government implement them to provide, the health sector reforms that is embodied in those laws. So this we will make sure we implement. And of course, there are already reforms that are in place. We just make sure that we bring in together both the states and the local governments, in harmony with the federal government. That is as far as the health sector reforms. Climate change, again, we had started dealing with the issue of climate change before we left office. Unfortunately, those policies have not been continued. We had programs of desertification by making sure that our northern border, there is a buffer zone of forest, to protect the desert encroachment coming from the Sahara into the north and then eventually even coming down, to the south. We had started this program of, I visited a number of states, launching those programs to make sure that there is a buffer. There are about 9 or so states in the north that are bordering, the northern countries like Chad, Niger, and to some extent also Cameroon. So we have started a very good afforestation program, but unfortunately it has not been continued. These are what we can do as far as desertification is concerned. Of course, climate change, we will be a part of the international community, that we will work together to make sure that the effects of climate change are minimized in our country and also globally. Well, flooding, I have, I think, issued a statement and made suggestions or recommendations of, first of all, dredging our waterways and also constructing of a number of dams across the country where water, where several maybe tributaries or rivers converge. Definitely, we have not continued with the dredging of both the rivers Niger and Benue, who actually are the main waterways in this country. And unless we do that, then because they have been silting over the years, so we have to do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency. As I said earlier on, you're doing very well. But let's now open it up to the audience. We just need 3 questions. The first one is from here, here, and the lady. And Claire, yes. Thank you. So, yes, then.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for all you have told us. My name is Henry Onukuba. I'm a faculty member at Lagos Business School. I teach leadership, amongst others. Relationship between the president and the vice president in this country has not been as smooth as it should be. 2 good heads are better than 1. I know you are a good head, Your Excellency, and Governor Kowa is another good head. What kind of leadership, president are you going to be? Are you going to devolve some powers to the vice president? Are you going to, for instance, hand over the mantle of leadership to him if you had need to leave this country? And also, are you going to be democratic in your approach to leadership relationship with your vice president? I want to know. Thank you.
I don't know whether this question is necessary. If you know my antecedents, with my first and foremost, I am a true Democrat. And I always know that two heads are better than one. Do you think I'm a crazy person to go and select Okowa? This is a first-class doctor from secondary school up to university. Even if I have done, I know how to look. I look at good people and say, this one is good, this one is not good. Okowa is a perfect vice president. And I can tell you that I suffered, from my own boss too. There are regulatory functions of the office of the vice president that you cannot take away. Regulatory, I mean, these are lawful functions of the vice president. They said in the law setting up, they will say the vice president is the chairman of this, the vice president is the chairman of that. My boss took them away. Now they were unlawful. Even the current vice president, what do you mean by Minister of Humanitarian Affairs? And you take all the agencies in the office of the vice president and you give it to a Minister of what is it? Huh? And these are all functions by law given to the office of the vice president. And they took it and gave it to a Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. What are you talking about? I'm not going to do that. Whatever is due to the office of the vice president, I will give him. I will even give him more.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, all protocols observed. My name is Chief Dr. Glover. I'm proud alumni of LBS. I'm also founder, chairman, and CEO of Grover's Hospital in Nigeria. Living in Nigeria for more than 20 years, we decided to aggressively invest into healthcare infrastructure in Nigeria. One is a suggestion and one is a question. Suggestion is, if we want to improve the healthcare infrastructure like other developing countries, can we waive off the custom duty on medical equipments so that more and more foreign direct investments come into the country and we develop world-class infrastructure?
Why not?
Thank you. And second question is, which my DG Muda Yusuf also asked. We have seen in recent past so many good Nigerian doctors and nurses are leaving Nigeria to UK, Canada, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. And it's becoming a very big problem into the country. What policies or what action would your administration adopt if you are selected as a president to stop this brain drain so that we retain our world-class good medical professionals into the country to serve the country? Thank you.
Well, I think what I will do as far as that is concerned is to make sure that there is a review of conditions of service, to make life much easier for the medical doctors to return to Nigeria in terms of remuneration, facilities for their work, and so on and so forth. Let me tell you what I did to attract very, very qualified Nigerians, particularly from the United States, to come back to my university. First of all, I developed infrastructure. I made sure that there is water supply, 24 hours. I made sure that there is electricity. I made sure there is internet. I made sure there is everything. And I make sure there is housing. By the time I opened the gates of the university, so many faculty members from the United States trooped to my university. And today, you may be in Lagos, you may be in Abuja, you may be in Port Harcourt, where, but let me tell you, 52% of the internet connectivity in Nigeria is in my university. 52%. Go and check, go and Google. Google had to fly from the United States to Lagos, from Lagos to Abuja, from Abuja to Lagos. And they say, no, this must be a Nigerian scam. How can you have a remote place in the northeast has more than 50% traffic in internet connectivity? This is because you simply don't see You can go to our library, you don't see any book. So it all depends. I will make sure that the medical profession, they have all what they need in Nigeria to remain in Nigeria. But that you must understand, healthcare is a concurrent issue. Federal government, state government, and local government.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We take 2 questions from the ladies, and that will be it. So please, your question, 2 of you can ask, and Your Excellency can answer the 2 questions at the same time.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, His Excellency. It's an honor and privilege to be in front of you, to hear you addressing some of the key issues. My name is Shweta Srivastav. I am the alumni of the Lagos Business School. I'm also owner of a small medium business here, and my question is related to the business which I belongs to. As they say that the economy is run by the business people, and a healthy business environment brings a strong economy. But as a business owner, we face a lot of issues, especially in terms of funds availability. The very stringent fund policies, the loan disbursement policies, and the high rate of interest, it really affects the delivery of the businesses and the kind of solutions we want to bring in the market to improve the situation of the country. So my question to you, sir, is how do you plan to address, to uphold the SMEs and MSMEs in terms of the fund availability and supporting the small businesses? Thank you so much.
Well, if you go through our policy document, you will see where we said we are going to make available 10 billion to promote SMEs, because we believe they are the bedrock of our economy, particularly the small scale and medium scale enterprises. So this is one sector that we consider very, very important. And I have always said this: empower a woman and you eliminate poverty. That's why 80% of my loan portfolio in my microfinance go to women only. 80%. And we have 90% recovery rate. And through that, we have moved out 45,000 families out of poverty. That's why if you want to fight poverty, empower a woman. So we will have policies, definitely, that will focus on SMEs. It's not $10 million, it's 10 billion.
Okay. Your Excellency, sir, my question is on insecurity. As a mother of young children in Nigeria,
I am also a father of young children.
I
still born, I still produce.
I want to ask what your plans are on insecurity, especially when it comes to the activities of herdsmen, Boko Haram, bandits, and your plan on how to deal with them so that there will be sanctity of lives and property of Nigerians. Because every day we hear the killings all over the country, and it breaks my heart. And we are concerned about this. So we want to know how you want to handle this issue of insecurity, and how you are going to give us the confidence that when you become president, we can travel and not be accosted on the road and killed, and our bodies will not be found. Thank you very much.
Insecurity. Again, insecurity is a concurrent issue. Federal government, states, and local governments. And not only that, in fact, the concurrent issue, it gets up to even individuals and families. Because we all have a responsibility to make sure that we have a secure society. You have mentioned a number of sectors as far as the insecurity is concerned. You have mentioned herdsmen. I come from a state where there are many, many herdsmen. In fact, I am also a herdman. I have 1,000 cattle, but they have never left my farm. What does it mean? I mean, I believe in grazing rather than taking your animals all over the place. So it all depends on where you come from and the peculiarity of where you come from. But I believe security generally affects all of us wherever we come from. There is security in the southeast. They call them IPOD. They are talking about Biafra. Biafra died about how many years ago? What we require is to engage the southeast. What are your problems? It's a question of engaging. So every part of the country has its own peculiar insecurity challenges. The challenges are not uniform all across the country. So that's why, again, the security issue becomes a concurrent issue. Federal government is involved, state governments are involved, local governments are involved. There are kidnappings and this and that. In my state, what I convinced the governor, I said, look, set up a vigilante in every village. We contribute money. We don't have incidents of insecurity, very, very minimal. So it is an issue that is concurrent, meaning that federal, states, and local government, and even smaller communities, have a responsibility, provided you engage them and you discuss how to confront the challenge. So security is everybody's challenge. It's just not only the federal government, not only the state government, not only the local government. Individuals and families are also stakeholders as far as the issue of security is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'm sure we all agree that he has done very well in this first part of the interview. Of course, it's an ongoing discussion. It hasn't ended. It's just that we are adjourning for another date. But on this note, I say a very, very big thank you to His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, also Dr. Muda Yusuf, for very excellent engagement, and I'm sure we've all enjoyed it. And it means that the work and everything is now on our side to properly assess Your Excellency in terms of the answers he has provided, to know whether it's very convincing, to know what we're going to do come 2023. But on that note, I say a very big thank you to Your Excellency. Thank you. Can we give him a round of applause, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Franklin Ngwu. Your Excellency, the alumni has a gift to present to you. To do that, I'd like to welcome again. I'd like to welcome again the Dean, Lagos Business School, Professor Chris Ogbeche. He's got a special gift to present to His Excellency. Photographers, can we get photographs of His Excellency, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, alongside the moderators, Dr. Franklin Ngwu, who again is a director of LBS Public Sector Initiative. He's also an associate professor of strategy, corporate governance, and risk management. Okay, so let them have a picture first. Professor Ogbeche. Professor Ogbeche. Thank you again to the founder and CEO of the Center of the Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf. That was such a great session. Put your hands together for them. They did a fantastic job. All right, and now for the presentation of gifts. Professor Ogbeche, now you can go. Professor Ogbeche. And when he's done here, for the young people in the room, I've been told that the presidential candidate of the PDP would like to take a picture with you. So if you want to do selfies and videos, He's going to do that with you as soon as he's done here. Your Excellencies, current governors, former governors, could you please come up so that we'll take a picture together with His Excellency Atiku Abubakar? Could we have all the governors present come up to the stage, please? Governors, please come up. Senators, please come up. Governor Godwin Obaseki, could you please come to the stage? Okay. His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, please come up. Oh, okay. Do we have the senators who are here? Could they please come up as well? Former Governor Leah Limoke, could you please come up? Could we have the National Organizing Secretary of the PDP, please? Okay. Could we have the PDP gubernatorial candidate of Lagos State come up, please? Could we please have Dele Momodu come up, please? Could we also have Chief Raymond Dokbesi come up, please? Where are the women now? The women who are on the PDP team. Oh, they're here. Fantastic. Okay. 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 Do we have the reps here? House of Reps members? Come up, please. Let me come down. Oh, fantastic. Sorry, can I come down, please? Sorry. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Thank you. Okay. Ma? Okay, thank you. For the young people in the room,